The ideas expressed in the following presentations are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of ACI or its committees. ACI web sessions are recorded at ACI conventions or other concrete industry events and will be made available for viewing free of charge for 1 week. Thereafter, they will be archived on the ACI website or added to ACI's online CEU program, depending on their content. You can earn continuing education credits through ACI's online CEU program. Visit www.concrete.org to register. ACI conventions provide an opportunity for networking and for keeping up to date with the latest in concrete technology and practices.
Our final speaker today is Dr. Jim Ernzen. Jim comes from the Dell Webb School of Construction at Arizona State University. Jim is going to talk to us today about mastering the knowledge you aren't taught in school, and we're looking forward to what you have to say, Jim.
I am too, Fred. This is great because I think I can follow directly with what Ramon followed, and especially remember that one slide he did about the 5 to 7 years or 5 to 10 years and the 4 to 6, because that's kind of where I'm going to focus what I talked about. First, I want to let you know I'm a pinch hitter here because I wasn't supposed to be on this docket, and Fred called me up about about a month and a half ago and asked me if I'd come in. So I hope I hit the mark for you. But thought we'd start out with a little bit of levity here. This sure indicators the economy is still bad. CEOs are having miniature golf outings out in Arizona. And that's how bad things are still out there. McDonald's is selling a quarter ounces on their value menu. The fastest growing job in Phoenix right now is jury duty. I got a pre-declined credit card in the mail yesterday. Motel 6 will not leave the light on for me. They're trying to save money. And I heard the mafia in New York City is laying off judges. But the biggest reason why you know you're in trouble here is that you guys had to ask a construction faculty to come talk about professional responsibility. That's how bad things are. So, okay, I want you to think of your education. I kind of talked this to the students that are in the group. I want you to think of your education as a concrete mix. After all, we're at ACI, right? A lot of different concretes can be used to satisfactorily perform the same material, same project, We can put a number of mixes, get the job done. But we all know if we put a little more effort into optimizing that mix proportion, we had a session right in this room just before this about optimizing mixes, you're going to get something that performs a lot better. So think of your education as a concrete mix. The aggregates, your math and science. The cement, your engineering coursework. Okay, the fly ash, the recycled part, that's your social science and humanities, okay? So what's left? The water. That's your energy you put into the learning and practicing those topics. And the last thing, the admixtures. And this is what this is the education that comes outside the classroom that Ramon was talking about, combining what we do with industry with what happens with that professor in the classroom. And that is where I see as the difference maker today. And that's the most difficult one to measure. That's why I use the analogy of the admixtures, because that's all a black box and nobody knows what that stuff does anyway. What we see at ASU is students moving through their education in kind of 3 different realms. We see them in an academic progression, moving through classes that they take, a personal progression as they develop their own abilities, and a professional progression. How do they fit into the industry? They're all moving simultaneously through this, but some portions of it are moving faster than others depending upon the student. All right? The problem I see for you guys out there today, and this is for the students that are out there, and a challenge for the faculty, is that most of our universities, I feel, don't only address the academic progression. We're not addressing that overlap with industry nearly as well as we should. And it's that combining that's going to provide better practicing engineers down the road. In other words, you all know that old adage, finish this sentence for me, will you guys? It's not what you know, but come on, who you know. Okay? Now, it's always had a real negative connotation, right? You always had this idea of, well, that's giving jobs to my brother-in-law, and that's why we developed unions in the 1930s and stuff like that. But, my take on that is a very positive one. Because I'm going to sit here and say, you don't know concrete until you know the people and the organizations that make up the concrete industry. That's one of the things I learned from Mamone many years ago. Was he worked with the industry as opposed to many folks that he worked with. And he knew the folks on the business side of things that made up that industry. So the who you know is just as important as the what you know, because that's how you put it all together. We turn out in the engineering communities, I think, lots of people that have a fair idea of what they know, but they don't know the who. And that's because we only focus too often on the academic side. We don't look at the professional side while they're going through that academic side. So it's that what is important. I think the who is what allows you to take your what to a much higher level. Is that confusing enough? So it comes down to student interaction with the industry. We all know it's beneficial. Students gain benefit from it, experience from it. More importantly, they get a lot of professional development. The industry gets to see who they're working with, test drive future employees, if you will. So how come we don't do more of it? And how do we solve that problem? Because here's my question. We go through our university environment, and all you guys either teach or learn calculus, physics, design codes, all of the what of being an engineer. And hopefully you're learning and gaining that level of being able to answer some of those questions. But here's a few questions for you. Where do we learn who works for who and how each person makes profit from what the heck they're doing? Anybody learn that coming out of engineering school? Methinks not. Where do you, more basic, how do you learn where to be on time for meetings? Not that anybody in this room would ever have a problem with that, right? Who teaches you proper attire and etiquette for work? Besides looking at the website, like Frank indicated. Where do students learn how to work for a bad boss? Who teaches you how to deal with difficult co-workers? Not that anybody hires any of those people, but we all have them. They're all out there. Where does the student learn that? How does the student handle ethics issues that they might see out there in a part-time job? Any students seen that out there? Don't raise your hand. That's okay. Just nod your head. How does the student, this goes back to Frank's talk a little earlier, how does the student discuss work-life balance? That's the latest term when they're interviewing, right? During a job interview. How do you deal with that without sounding like I'm not really dedicated and I'll give my whole life to this job? How does the student handle past transgressions in their personal life during that interview process? Let's say their record is not lily white. How do you handle that? Those are things I think we should be talking about as we're helping that student develop through school, in addition to the calculus and the physics and the design codes. Little of this shows up in the curriculum now. And if we don't address it, are we educating students as best we can? I don't think we are. I think we have lots of room to help there. And it doesn't all have to be inside that classroom. Those 30 class meetings that you have, or those 45 class meetings that you have every semester. In fact, most of it, I think, can handle outside of that. There may be some people in this room, and if I insult anybody, that's okay. That's part of what I try to do, is be a lightning rod. Say it's not the role, but I turn around and tell you it's got to be the role. There's not role time in the curriculum. ABET doesn't give us any flexibility there. You can insert ACCE for my folks in the construction side. We don't get rewarded for it, and Lord knows we don't get rewarded for it. Okay? Students should be doing this themselves, right? It's their own professional responsibility. Well, I think we all sit there and say the profession, we get criticized all the time or we're critical ourselves of the lack of preparedness of our graduates. So I'm going to ask you, if not now, during their time, when do we do it? And if not you teaching, who's going to do it? You as the faculty, I think, need to be the broker for that. And need to reach out, and I think a lot of it can be done with the industry hand in hand, so that when that student submits that resume to Frank, like he was talking about earlier tonight, he or she person already has a lot of those answers because they've been working in the industry already during the time they're in school. What kind of things can you do to help do that? Well, some of these are pretty simple. I'm sure a lot of these you guys do already. Invite guest speakers in to talk on subjects in the classes. Take them to field trips to industry sites. How many do homeworks where we require the industry to respond, to interact? How many people have homework assignments in their classes where they force you to go out and talk to somebody in the industry and get some response back from somebody? Now, we have students here, so student attendance at industry association meetings, that's an easy one, okay? But besides going to conventions like this, do you go to local chapter meetings? All right? I have classes where that's part of my assignment. They go, that class doesn't meet tonight, you're going to this meeting. Because this is not only do you have to go to the meeting and learn something about what a speaker might do, but then I say, your other assignment there is to sit at the table with 3 other industry people and come back and tell me what those 3 people do in this industry. Because if you know the people, you don't know concrete in that one particular assignment. But I could do it across the board for construction and engineering in general. Student supported industry networking events. How many folks play golf? How many construction engineering organizations have golf tournaments? Every one that I can touch in Phoenix, and we play a lot in Phoenix, I have students there. I have students there working and just supporting, running a registration table, doing things along those lines. Why? Because it gets them in front of the industry people. Even in non-industry environments where we're not working, for example. All right? I get the students involved in industry service projects. We do a couple of them in Phoenix every year not with the home builders, but with our Builders Alliance folks. We do in the fall time frame, we do a Christmas toy drive, and in the spring we do a cell phone donation for our soldiers. Not related to physics, calculus, design of concrete mixes, or anything else, but hey, it gets us out there, and then the students meet the people, and that helps develop that professional development. We solicit their support because of those kind of connections. We get their support for student projects. We start small, and I think you need to start small and continue to aim to try to increase the amount of connection you can have, and that's going to help them build that professional responsibility so that they'll be much better prepared when they go out. I start off early. The first class I take students, and I don't wait till they're juniors and seniors and they have some knowledge of what I've taught them in the classroom. The first class, as freshmen, we take them out into the field and we start meeting the industry on their turf. No, we don't wait. We take them out there immediately, because then they're going to come back with questions, and that makes the classroom material much more exciting, because now they've seen things and they've heard people talk, and then they have questions about that. Even though they don't have the context when they're here as a freshman or sophomore, it makes their education so much more well-rounded. All right. Sometimes it happens in classes. More often than not at ASU, we do it as part of club activities. All right. It may or may not be a part of the class. So it may or may not take class time if you're a faculty member. And it culminates for us in 2 internships for credit. All right? These are required classes at ASU. You can't get out of ASU's construction management school without taking 2 1-credit summer classes that you have to go out and work for 8 to 10 weeks in the field. I don't know too many other programs that do that. In fact, we're trying to get our civil engineering department there to do it, and they are actively resisting us. And I don't understand why. I can't see any negative to that. I can't possibly buy the argument that every single credit hour in this our academic curriculum is so critical that we have to have it in there, and we can't squeeze out something we can go out and learn firsthand experience in the industry. But I think these are absolutely, we started this almost 10 years ago at ASU, and it is absolute, it's phenomenal, the change you see in the students coming back from that internship. Just phenomenal in terms of their own confidence and their own professional ability. They show up on time. It's that whole change from being a student to being what we call a paraprofessional. Huge. A couple of things I'd highlight in particular. We do a construction management student competition to the tune of 1,000 students just in the western part of the United States go for every year. It's, as you think of the concrete canoe on steroids, all right? I mean, some programs have 6 people build a canoe, some programs have 20 people build a canoe. We sent 75, 80 students this year up to a competition, and we compete in Reno, Nevada, and they do it all over the country, where the companies actually sponsor projects, and they come out and they say, they put you in a room for 18 hours, for 24 hours, and they start throwing changes at you. So it's a combination of, I got to put together an RFP, RFQ, and then I got to go to bid day chaos. And they have to come in and give half an hour presentation on how they would solve this problem. And these are the companies that built that project a year and a half ago, sitting there asking them the questions. And that thing has just morphed into this huge issue now where most of those students walk away with jobs afterwards. They've turned this competition into a job fair. So, huge opportunities to do those kinds of things that I don't think we take advantage of enough. There's our folks in the war room. That's actually a motel. That's a Holiday Inn in Reno, Nevada. We just tear the room apart. And then they give their presentation, and that's them afterwards. I couldn't see any, they wouldn't show me any pictures of them during the presentation because that's all classified. They'd have to kill me. We also do something specifically for what we call underrepresented groups at the Del Webb School. We saw the problem several years ago where our minorities and our women were not doing real well. They'd come in the program, they start as a freshman, they drift away. I sat down with them and said, what's the problem? And they said, well, I just didn't feel that I belonged. I couldn't see the path forward. And what we realized after spending a little more time looking at it, these people, if you're moving into a program that's 90% male, which is the construction industry is, and you're female, it's a few more challenges than the rest of us old white boys have. So how do we solve that? Well, I went out to my industry, I went to my women in the industry and said, help me. And they put together a mentoring program, which really the crux of which was one-on-one. Every woman I bring in the program has a one-on-one mentor. And that person signs up for them for at least 2 years and they go forward. Those kinds of things, and meet twice a semester. It's not like a huge requirement, but man, does that make a difference in those young ladies understanding how to fit into this industry. We do the same thing with our minorities now, same way. Very successful process. There's an example of we do mock interviews, resume writing, just what Frank went through. We actually go through and do those same kind of discussions, see what it is. We actually will sit down and do mock interviews one-on-one with students to critique the resume and go through how do you handle this issue, things like that. Even our guys show up for them. That's kind of the cool thing about it. The guys come to the women's groups. So, take them on specifically on job site tours. The testimonials and things back have just been phenomenal. It's just really, really gratifying to see because the students love to get out and they come back feeling so much more confident about what they're doing. And I think that's an area where we can really do a better job of working to taking that window that Ramon was talking about and shortening that down. So they walk out of here after 4 to 5 years and they have not only gotten all their physics and their calc and everything else, but now they understand how the business works. And because they understand who pays for who and how, And that's an important part of it. And that's something we never saw in engineering school. I hope some of you are covering it now. I never got any of that. I learned it from Ramon when I got my PhD. So that's I got about 15 more slides here, but I don't think we're going to go through them all because I'm done out of time. But that's really the topic, what I had to do. We'll run them through some of the things that we do. We get the students out, meeting them, coming to association meetings, recruiting high school students. Go out and look at a batch plant. See how a batch plant runs. Let that batch plant operator show you how that's done. Make something in the classroom. Bring somebody in and talk about it. Here's an industry speaker coming in making a concrete countertop. It's kind of nice when your industry interaction has a product at the end. That's an instructor table in the concrete classroom. That's kind of cool. right? We get our students ACI field grade 1 certified, and then the next semester after they get certified, they have to go and be a proctor. And you know from being a teacher that nothing teaches you the material better than having to teach it, right? Well, there you go. There you got a 20-year-old proctor testing a 50-year-old QC tech. That's a little bit of glitch right there. I mean, isn't it? So that, trust me, the guy holding the clipboard is more nervous than the guy doing the test. Let me tell you that right now. Okay, so that's what we're doing. They get out. They painted our students got us so excited after that. They painted the classroom. All right. Stole a little bit from the PCA. Put that on the back wall for the exams. All right. And and I think I'm done. Let's finish right here, Fred. What do you think? Any questions? I could talk on this all day long.
We know you could.
I know.